So look at Anthony Ryder from South Lyon, Michigan, recently selected as the Lions 2020 Fan of the Year. He has a passion about sports broadcasting.
With the 112th selection in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions select Amon-Ra St. wide receiver, USC. One pride, baby! Yeah! What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Detroit Lions video. Now, the Detroit Lions are about 4 days into training camp. They are into the offseason. They're getting ready for the preseason. There's a lot of camp battles going on. And of course, there are a lot of standout players and a lot of players that are finding success early in the training camp process. And today, I want to take a look at those players. Just kind of shine a light on some of the players that are playing well, shine a light on some of the players that are maybe returning from injury to high-level players that are winning their camp battles, or players that are just taking that next step in their NFL development and truly blossoming into NFL stars. So today, that is exactly what we are going to do, taking a look at the top 5 Detroit Lions from the 2023 training camp from early in the first week. Now, starting off, I want to talk about Charles Harris. Now, Charles Harris was mentioned yesterday as a player that, was playing well, a player that was, Dan Campbell really liked to talk about, a player that Dan Campbell spoke about several times throughout press conferences. So I wanted to really focus on Charles Harris as he is returning from a big injury a season ago that kept him out for a majority of the season. Charles Harris was only able to play in 6 games for the Detroit Lions a season ago and wasn't the most impactful player, but was really solid in a run stuffer and did have a couple really good pass rushing moments, including a great game in week 2 against the Washington Commanders. Now, early in training camp, the Detroit Lions have seemingly moved into a 5-man front several times in certain packages, downs, and distances, where Charles Harris has been the starting Sam linebacker alongside Aiden Hutchinson, and both have been rushing from outside the tackles, with 3 interior defensive linemen plugging up space and taking up blockers, allowing each of them to have a one-on-one opportunity on the edge, and both of them have been playing really well at that position, creating havoc and pressures from that alignment. But that's not the only time Charles Harris is seeing the field. On 4-man fronts, Charles Harris also seems to be a starting caliber pass rusher for the Detroit Lions, starting over guys like James Houston, starting over guys like Romeo Okwara and Josh Pascal, as he has really, throughout the first week of training camp, been the most impressive pass rusher to pair with the former first-round pick Aiden Hutchinson. Now, Charles Harris has showed really good play recognition, sniffing out screen passes and sniffing out really the blocking assignments of the offensive line, but has also just been a really good pass rusher. He's come back with a chip on his shoulder. He's come back with an ability to pass rush, get around the edge, get to the quarterback, create some pressure, create some havoc, and I think that there's a good chance that we see Charles Harris be that number 1 edge rusher alongside Hutchinson in 2023, with a strong rotation of Houston and Okwara and Pascal getting a good number of reps as well. Now, the second player on the defensive side of the ball I wanted to talk about today is a lesser-known player, a rookie undrafted free agent from the 2023 class who has seemingly only gotten better since entering the NFL. That player is Starling Thomas IV. Now, Starling Thomas, as I said, was an undrafted rookie free agent from the University of Alabama, Birmingham. UAB Blazers is where Starling Thomas played his collegiate ball and was a really, really good player. He reminds me a lot of Jerry Jacobs from a play style, but Jerry Jacobs with 4.3 speed. He's a player that is scrappy. He's a player that competes for every ball in the air, and he has shown exactly that throughout training camp. Now, Starling Thomas has consistently been taking reps with the second team, battling with guys like Denzel Mims and Maurice Alexander, but has had a few off and on reps with the first team defense, including a lot of first team reps yesterday with the absence of course, a couple secondary members. A lot of the younger players are getting opportunities with the first team, and Starling Thomas had a couple good battles there as well. Not to mention, Starling Thomas has been the number 1 gunner on special teams with that 4.3 speed and versatility and willingness to tackle and hit. He is a player that is consistently impressing coaches from the training staff. He's consistently impressing the cornerback coaches and Dan Campbell, and they've talked about him a lot throughout the first couple days of the training camp process. And I think that not necessarily being a lock for the top 53, but I do think there's a very good chance that Starling Thomas is going to beat out a couple of veterans and be the last cornerback on the roster, or even a cornerback that sees playing time on the roster in the 2023 season after having strong battles with Mims, strong battles with Maurice Alexander, and holding his own versus the ones who are playing at a very high level right now. Starling Thomas is a very strong candidate to not only make the roster, but be an impactful player on special teams and potentially on the defense as early as week 1. Now, moving on to the offensive side of the ball, Sam LaPorta has been nothing but impressive this year for the Detroit Lions, taking a majority of first-team reps dating all the way back to the first day of mandatory training camp. It took about 3 weeks of OTAs and minicamp to see that Sam LaPorta was the best tight end on the roster and arguably the most efficient target on the roster, with the exception of course, Amon-Ra St. Brown. He has been Jared Goff's go-to guy in third down situations. He's been Jared Goff's go-to guy on seam passes and just been a very efficient, reliable weapon, not only being a safety blanket, not only being that security blanket, but being a great player after the catch, being a big play threat every single time he touches the ball, and continuing to develop really strong chemistry with Jared Goff in red zone drills as well as gotta have it situations. St. Brown is Jared Goff's guy. He goes to him when he needs him. He goes to St. Brown when they need a big play. He goes to St. Brown when they need a play in general, and that is great. St. Brown is a phenomenal player, and we'll talk about St. Brown in a minute, but Sam LaPorta has quickly become Jared Goff's second favorite option at minicamp or at training camp, even surpassing guys like Khalif Raymond, surpassing guys like Josh Reynolds, surpassing guys like Jameson Williams, and becoming the second go-to guy and being an elite tight end throughout training camp. He has the potential to be a top 5 tight end in the NFL as early as his rookie season. And I know that that sounds crazy. I know that tight ends take a while to develop usually, but with his chemistry, with his yak ability, his receiving ability, and just overall him already taking top tier first team reps, I do think Sam LaPorta will be a big impact player in year 1, and I wouldn't be surprised if he finishes a top 10 tight end as far as receiving yards and receiving touchdowns. Now, speaking of the chemistry with Jared Goff has also been phenomenal throughout training camp. His confidence is up, his leadership is on display, and his command of the offense is unlike anything we've seen over the last 2 seasons. Jared Goff is on a completely different level. After playing like a top 10 quarterback a season ago, he has taken another step forward in the Ben Johnson offense. As I said, taking a real strong command of the offense, being a great leader like he's been the last 2 seasons, and that confidence that he has shown has been off the charts. The velocity and accuracy on his throws has even been noticeably improved, and he has been so strong as the starting quarterback for the Detroit Lions. There was a red zone drill where Jared Goff split it between 2 defenders that were inches away from batting the football away and got it to St. Brown in the back of the end zone, as well as a really good seam shot that just snuck over the linebacker's hands in between double coverage and was placed really well for Sam LaPorta on a seam ball. Jared Goff is throwing with confidence. He's throwing with velocity. He's throwing with accuracy, and he is playing like a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. And I know it's training camp. I know it's early. I know that he's playing against players without pads on. He's playing without players that are going to hit him. But at this point in the offense or in the offseason, Jared Goff looks like a better quarterback than he was last year, looks like a better quarterback than he was in year 1, and we might get the best season of Jared Goff's entire career going into 2023. He's developing great chemistry with his wide receivers, with his tight ends. His offensive line is blocking for him. The running game looks great around him, and everything seems poised for Jared Goff to have a breakout season, have a Pro Bowl season, and lead the Detroit Lions to success that they haven't seen in nearly a decade. Now, I talked about Amon-Ra St. Brown earlier. I talked about how he's playing really well. Talked about how his chemistry with Jared Goff is great, how he has been the go-to guy for a while. And despite everybody knowing how good Amon-Ra St. Brown is, I don't think it would be fair to go through this list without mentioning number 14. Now, quotes from coaches, quotes from players are just that Amon-Ra St. Brown is on another level this season. Jared Goff has texted offensive coordinator Ben Johnson as well as wide receivers coach Antoine Randall saying that this is going to be Amon-Ra's biggest year yet and that he is simply on another level. St. Brown stays after practice every single day and catches over 200 plus passes from the jugs machine. And yesterday, despite dropping the very first pass, then caught 201 passes in a row before going back into the locker room. Yesterday, the Lions did a red zone drill where Amon-Ra St. Brown ran 10 routes in that red zone. He caught 6 touchdowns on 10 reps. That's not because the defense is poor. That wasn't because of busted coverage. There was tight coverage. There was good play calling. There was good scheming around it. Amon-Ra St. Brown was simply that good to score 6 touchdowns in 10 reps, blowing the defense out of the water, and of course winning the red zone drills for the offense. He is only getting better. He's a player that works incredibly hard. He's a player that continues to improve and continues to get better, continues to just make the offense around him better, continues to make his quarterback better and open up opportunities for everybody else. And Amon-Ra St. Brown, despite being a slot receiver, despite not being the boundary X guy, is very clearly the best wide receiver on the offense, is very clearly, I would even say, the best playmaker on the offense right now, and may even be the best offensive player on the entire Detroit Lions roster. This guy is poised for a breakout season. He's already been a Pro Bowler. He's already reached 1,000 yards. He's already reached 100 plus catches every single year. He is a guy that I think has all pro potential, Cooper Kupp level potential in the 2023 season, with a second year in the Ben Johnson system, a third year with Jared Goff, and a great offensive scheme around him. He is a player that is going to thrive, and I think he has all pro potential in the 2023 season, and he's showing it early in training camp. So, with all that being said, that is all I have for you guys today. Let me know down in the comments below what players you're most excited to hear about, what players you want to hear about next as far as training camp, and what players are doing what. I'd be very curious to hear what you guys want to see. Of course, very willing to share anything I can find about the players you want to hear about. But with that being said, that is all we have for you guys today. If you made it this far into the video, you clearly enjoyed the Lions content, make sure you get on below and subscribe to the channel and make sure you never miss a Detroit Lions upload. But with that being said, thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, and as always, go Lions!